With example 3 of identifying proportional relationships by graphing, we're given a table that shows the cost of renting a moving truck based on the miles that are driven. And we're asked to graph the data and explain if the relationship between the number of miles and the total cost is proportional. So I went ahead and copied the table, miles driven ranging from 100 to 200, and total cost ranging from 60 to 100. As far as choosing a scale is concerned, depending on how big your graph is, just make sure that the increments make sense and that you can encompass the lowest value all the way up to the highest value. So for miles driven, we're going from 100 to 200. So I used a scale of 25 to make sure that we could include 100 all the way up to 200, spread out as much as possible on the given scale. And with total cost, we're ranging from $60 to $100. I'll go ahead and put units up here of dollars. So I made the scale for each tick mark to represent $10, and that way we can go from 10 all the way up to 100, encompassing all of those costs. Now what we want to recognize is that each one of these represents an ordered pair of miles driven as the input and total cost in dollars as the output. So we have as our ordered pairs 160, 150, 80, and 200, 100. So let's go ahead and plot those points. So we go over to 100 and up to 60, over to 150 and up to 80, and then over to 200 and up to 100. And then we draw a line through those points. All right, now with looking at graphing to verify whether or not a relationship between variables is proportional, we need two things. Remember that those two things are that it has to be linear, which in this case, it does look linear. We have a line going through those 3 points, but then it also has to pass through the origin. But in this case, it doesn't pass through the origin. The origin is way down here, and it's passing through the y-axis, or the total cost axis, up here at around 20. So what that means is that no, it's not proportional. And as a reasoning, you could say the graph doesn't pass through the origin. Now, essentially what this means is that if you drive 0 miles, it still costs around $20 to rent the moving van. So there's some type of flat fee of $20 or around $20. Since we haven't verified it, we're just graphing. And that's what makes it not proportional. In order for it to be proportional, miles driven would have to be proportional to the total cost. And you could also verify that by, again, in this case, because it's not proportional and it's very obviously not proportional, we don't really need to check it. But just to verify that the ratio of miles driven to total cost is not proportional, and it doesn't matter which way you go, but to follow in suit with what we've done thus far, let's go with output of total cost over input of miles driven. So that equals 3/5. 80 to 150 equals 8/15. And 100 to 200 equals 1/2. So because these aren't constant, that does verify that it's not proportional. And we weren't asked to do that, but it's always a good idea to check your solutions if you can.